What's going on, everyone? We are back here with the finals of the League Challenge here in St. Peter's, Missouri. My name is Leonard Kraft, and here we have the finals match between Darren and Mason. We saw Mason on stream earlier today, so it's exciting to be able to see him again. Darren's appearance on stream is first time for him. And it looks like we've got a Koraidon versus Calyrex-Ice matchup. So Koraidon here, not a great. It's gonna have some trouble getting going. Calyrex-Ice does not have Terra Fire, so it isn't able to just resist those attacks and just like go ham that way. But the other Pokemon that are on Mason's team, I think, are just going to be difficult to make Koraidon work. Like if Koraidon ends up in Trick Room against Calyrex and Ursaluna at the same time, then you're just going to have a whole lot of trouble with Glacial Lance and Earthquake doing heavy damage to everything. So those are pretty tough things to manage to figure out how to break through. The Gouging Fire on Darren's team is that Choice Band, actually. Interesting. Okay, so Choice Band with Outrage. I should pick up a KO on whatever. So that can be pretty scary. And there's no fairy types except for the Iron Valiant on Mason's side. So yeah, this is going to be a good one. I think the Umbreon is probably going to be the key player. The Umbreon not only does it have Taunt and Yawn, but with that Inner Focus ability, should be able to like get one of those off very safely. And with Sun and Moonlight, you will recover a ton of HP. Foul Play also threatens the Calyrex for heavy damage, and also does good damage into the Ursaluna. It doesn't like do a ton of damage, but if the Ursaluna wants to go for Terra Ghost, then that wouldn't be very effective. So we've got the finals here. This is like I said, it's a tricky one. The Umbreon is good, but everything else, I think, like if Trick Room goes up, it's going to be Lance. So how do you stop that if you are Darren? That's going to be the key thing. So as far as Glacial Lance resists, the only ones that you've got are Terrestrialization. So all the Pokemon naturally are either weak or take neutral damage from Glacial Lance, but the Gouging Fire and the Walking Weight can both Terrestrialize to fire. And this Calyrex-Ice Rider, instead of having the more typical coverage of high horsepower, instead has close combat. So would need that Ursaluna to create those pins. Another disadvantage is that we've got that Pelipper there. Pelipper can do heavy damage to a lot of Pokemon on this team. If you want to go for a Terra Fire with either Walking Wake or Gouging Fire, you can use Weather Ball to pin that later. It can also remove the effective healing from Umbreon, going from 50% normally or 75% in Sun to just or is it 2/3? I should know this. I think it's 75%. Don't quote me on that. I know it's 25% in the rain, though, and that would be pretty devastating. No Raging Bolt locked in here either, so that's the most obvious answer to the Pelipper that's available, and not an option here. So we're going to see how this plays out. Game 1 here between Darren and Mason in the finals here of this League Challenge. Who will take home the victory? Oh, who put the Home Depot music theme on? All right, Darren, I'm gonna have a word later, but we got Indeedee, Calyrex versus Koraidon and Umbreon. So this should be a pretty straight. Oh, I also forgot to mention, I guess, the Koraidon is Terra Fire, which is most likely to candidate for Terrestrialization anyway. The As One will of course go off, preventing berries from being eaten, but there is not a single berry to be seen on Darren's side. The Koraidon is likely to go for Terra Fire. That would pick up a knockout on Indeedee. I don't think Indeedee would be able to survive that attack. And actually, if that is enough to pick up a knockout, then potentially that could be enough. If Flare Blitz is able to pick up a knockout on Indeedee, then Taunt could land into the Calyrex, and that would prevent it from setting up Trick Room. So that would be the most straightforward way to deny it. The Indeedee could Terrestrialize to water to cover for that. I don't think Collision Course would knock out Indeedee straight away. It would kind of sink to commit that Terrestrialization, though. You'd like it for either the Calyrex-Ice or the, or potentially, well, maybe the Pelipper. Like, if you brought Pelipper, then you can use it for being able to stop an electric move from Raging Bolt. You might want to cover for that. But actually, we just see the turn start off by Koraidon using Terra Fire. The Flare Blitz here, again, should probably knock out Indeedee in a single hit. If it does, then Taunt should be able to go off into the Calyrex-Ice. And we do see a counter Terrestrialization as well from Mason as a result. This could be into the Calyrex. That would mean that it takes less damage from the fire type attack. Could just be a Glacial Lance and a Trick Room with the Indeedee, actually. That could be the way that Mason decides he's going to get through this. But nope, just to follow me to start things off, saying I'm going to Terastallize not only so I can potentially take this damage from a Flare Blitz later on, but also from this foul play now if the Flare Blitz does pick up a knockout on Indeedee, as it does. Koraidon there with all the multipliers from Sun, Terrafire, and its Orichalcum Pulse ability, meaning that it does a lot of damage, just a lot of damage in recoil as well. But yeah, there's that taunt from Umbreon into the Calyrex. So let's see what Calyrex does in response, though. Is this a Glacial Lance or is this a Trick Room? It was an attempted Trick Room, so Mason gets no value out of that turn, only a little bit of recoil damage on the Koraidon. Now you're in a tricky spot. There's no other Trick Room setter on Mason's team, so if Mason wants to get Trick Room up, let me think my words, the Calyrex will have to leave and come back in. That's kind of a tall ask. The Pelipper is in a great spot here, though. Weather Ball would threaten a knockout onto the Koraidon for sure, and it would also do a good chunk of damage to either of the back Pokemon that we happen to see here from Darren. But again, like, if you do that, then you're not putting any damage onto the Umbreon. The Umbreon is likely to go for something like Yawn, maybe even Foul Play into the Calyrex. And it's not clear how you're going to get Calyrex off and on the board in such a way that also enables you to get Trick Room up later, because the only real way you could do that is if you had Indeedee in the back, excuse me, not Indeedee, Amoonguss in the back. Indeedee's been knocked out, and then set up a Rage Powder Trick Room play that way, but I don't think there's a clear path forward for doing that. So yeah, it looks like just staying into attack, a Weather Ball lands into the Umbreon. That's going to do a heavy amount of damage. Wow, that Life Orb is really strong. The Umbreon goes for the Yawn, probably anticipating the Calyrex to switch out, but doesn't get that. Instead, is going to take this Glacial Lance. Flower Mane is going to go down to 1 HP with that Focus Sash. Let's see how much the damage... Okay, it is a knockout onto the Umbreon. There was a critical hit there. Not sure if it mattered, but a knockout on Umbreon does mean that the Calyrex will get an increased stage of attack here. The downside of it is that it provides a switch in. So now either the Koraidon or the Gouging Fire can come in. Both of them are fairly threatening. The Gouging Fire a little bit less so because it can't do a lot of damage in the rain here. You could switch back to Koraidon and go for a Heat Crash into the... excuse me, not a Heat Crash, but a... I guess you could go for Heat Crash or Flare Blitz. But it'd probably be Flare Blitz. But anyway, you could go for Outrage, I guess. But yeah, this is kind of tricky. Going for like Moonblast and an attack probably won't pick up a knockout onto the Calyrex. So Mason here has to really decide, like, okay, I've got a +1 Koraidon, or excuse me, +1 Calyrex here right now. Do I take advantage of its boost right now, or do I switch it out to remove that Yawn? Not an obvious answer here, and Koraidon comes in. It's going to override the rain set by Pelipper, setting up the Sun. That'll also turn on Photosynthesis for Gouging Fire. Is this an attack booster, or is it speed? It is attack booster, so this Gouging Fire will do heavy, heavy damage with its attacks. We do see Pelipper actually withdraw, so that means that the Calyrex did stay on the field, likely going for that Glacial Lance. It switches out, instead replacing it for Ursaluna. So if Ursaluna takes this Flare Blitz, it's going to not appreciate it. Yeah, it takes about 90% of its HP there. But a return Glacial Lance will probably pick up a knockout on the Gouging Fire. And that's actually really huge. If this does knock out the Gouging Fire, as it does, now Pelipper can fairly comfortably switch back in. The Koraidon's strongest move will be Collision Course. Or no, it will be still Flare Blitz into the Calyrex. But since it's now a flying type, it won't do a whole lot of damage because the rain will reduce it. The only thing that Flutter Mane can really do is like Moonblast. I don't expect a Moonblast plus Flare Blitz combination attack to pick up the knockout. Not only that, I think you could like relatively safely like protect your Calyrex and just go for an attack with Ursaluna. Like you really want to double this Calyrex. Oh right, but you don't need to because it's asleep. Oh duh. Okay. All right, that actually changes things a lot. Yeah, I forgot that was a trade for sleep. Okay. Actually, it looks like just going to let the Ursaluna go down, and presumably this is going to be, nope, just a Collision Course into the Calyrex. So potentially hoping for a Flare Blitz there, actually maybe hoping that the recoil damage would be enough, but yeah, Collision Course is very low damage into the Terraflying Calyrex-Ice. So this is going to be tricky. Pelipper's going to come back in. Rain's going to be active. You want to throw one attack at the Pelipper, I think. It's risky to use Dazzling Gleam here because of Wide Guard. I don't anticipate that Moonblast would do enough by itself. You'd probably need a double target with Moonblast And what's stronger here? Flare Blitz or Collision? I think it's Collision Course. It's clearly Collision Course into the Pelipper, but yeah, Pelipper just goes for Protect. Let's see if this is a double target into the Calyrex-Ice, though. Calyrex is going to take a Moonblast to start off with. That's a lot of damage. That's going to be in KO range next turn. Collision Course will not pick up a knockout. We saw that last time it wasn't enough, even with the Sun. Without the Sun, yeah, it's not enough. Does Calyrex wake up? Does it get off the Glacial Lance? It does wake up! Does it get off the Glacial Lance? Just Trick Room. That's actually even better. I think either attack would have been just fine there. But yeah, Trick Room also will seal the game. Unless there's like... I guess there can't be 5 Protects on both sides because Flutter Mane does not carry Protect. Oh, actually, no, it does carry Protect. But yeah, that's... I mean, you'd have to like literally Protect through all of this Trick Room. And statistically, that won't happen. Like, theoretically, it could happen. Statistically, it won't happen. Even if you do all of that, I think that would be enough. If you literally could Protect through every single turn of Trick Room, I think you probably could win from there because you could go, like, Moonblast, Pelipper, throw an attack at Calyrex. Even then, maybe it still wouldn't be enough. Like, you might still have to call it Protect. But yeah, that's all, like, clearly theoretical. Like, that's not happening. You're not getting 5 Protects in a row with both Pokemon. The odds of that would be so insanely low. Doesn't even get the double Protect on Koraidon. It doesn't happen on Flutter Mane. Doesn't happen on Flutter Mane either. So Glacial Lance will just pick up 2 KOs. Glacial Lance does move before the Pelipper. Nothing terribly surprising about that. If Calyrex had some speed and Pelipper had very low speed, then potentially the speed order could be different. But yeah, that one-turn wake, pretty crucial there for Mason. So the Umbreon there was still pretty impactful. It got that taunt off into the Calyrex and that yawn later to pressure it. But in the end, didn't get enough turns out of the Umbreon. If Umbreon had caused the Calyrex to sleep for just one more turn, I imagine this could have been game for Mason, especially because the Pelipper decided to Protect. I think if Pelipper attacked there, potentially what you can do with that is like force Moonblast to go Pelipper's way. I think it probably forced a double target. And if you force a double target to go Pelipper's way, that gives Calyrex another turn to wake up. So potentially could have won even if the one turn's wake up didn't happen, but we'll never know. The Calyrex did wake up and the Pelipper did go for Protect. So if I'm Mason, you want to try to figure out a way, like, how do I stop that from happening? Because the early game was really poor. Like, you lost all of Indeedee, and Calyrex wasn't able to Trick Room, and you had the awkward yawn turn. Like, all of that really stunk. Like, you really would rather not have that happen again. So your options for getting around that would be terrestrializing, basically, with your redirection Pokemon. Both Amoonguss and Indeedee are both Terra Water, so they both can survive that incoming attack. The downside of doing that is, again, it's a really early terrestrialization. Also fairly telegraphed. Looks like considering Raging Bolt up front, potentially, to cover for that as well. Changing decisions, though. It's not, like I say, that plan for stopping Trick Room worked. And I don't really think you have another way of, like, blasting through. Like, it's not clear to me that you can just, like, blow something else up. So we'll have to see what the adjustments are. If I'm Mason again, I think the priority is getting that Trick Room up. And so potentially committing terrestrialization on your support Pokemon might be worth it for that. Again, though, like, if you do, like, Indeedee plus Calyrex and you, like, terrestrialize it versus, like, say, that same turn, Flare Blitz and Taunt, it still doesn't help all that much, right? Because the Indeedee will be taunted, and the... I think we literally have no music. Do we literally have no music? Okay, we're gonna fix that. Let's play some music in the background so that we don't have literally nothing going on. Pokemon Elite Four Extended. Let's do that. All right. All right. Flutter Mane and Koraidon here lead, now that we've got the business about music sorted, is not especially great. Indeedee now no longer has to commit terrestrialization. Can probably fairly safely go for that Follow Me Trick Room. I don't see an obvious way that goes wrong. The Calyrex doesn't have a super fast way of breaking through this Koraidon. However, yeah, we do just see a terrestrialization turn one. that will be on that Flutter main. So Flutter main now will be Terra Fairy, increasing the damage of its fairy type attacks. Moonblast and Dazzling Gleam will now do more damage, but yeah, I don't know. Like, is more damage what you need on your Flutter main? I feel like you really kind of want that on your Calyrex. This is gonna make the Glacial Lance hurt a whole lot more later. And we do see Calyrex commit Terrestrialization as well. Terra Flying won't impact a lot right now. Would only impact if you went for, like, Trick Room with the Indeedee attack with Calyrex. Let's see what happens, though. Just that follow me from the Indeedee to start off with. So, this will also cover, I guess, a critical hit if the Moonblast, is a critical hit on the Indeedee, but no critical hit to be found. The Koraidon will use Flare Blitz, deal a little bit more damage to itself. And now I would imagine that the Calyrex should set Trick Room. Even if this is a Glacial Lance, that would do heavy, heavy damage to the Flutter main and the Koraidon. So I expect a Trick Room, though. Yeah, there's that Trick Room that goes up. And if I'm Mason, I'm really happy about this. This should be a pretty free Ursaluna. Ursaluna can come in. Earthquake and Glacial Lance should be 2 KOs. That would activate the Ursaluna's Flame Orb. And that will also enable the Facade and Glacial Lance to pick up a knockout, or probably pick up a knockout on Umbreon and Trick Room. This Flutter main, again, it committed Terrestrialization. It's like, I don't really know what you've done with this. Now you're just in such huge trouble. Like, you can't stop Earthquake Glacial Lance. On the plus side, I don't think Darren knows if the Ursaluna or the Calyrex is faster. If this was Earthquake into Glacial Lance, it would be devastating because you'd get increased attack on the Calyrex from doing that. But we know from seeing a previous game with Mason that this will be in order of Glacial Lance into Earthquake. So looks like there's a Pokemon that's got to come in. It is that Gouging Fire. It shouldn't be able to survive this attack, though. Glacial Lance and Earthquake will do heavy damage into both of these Pokemon. The attack raise will not matter if you're getting knocked out by a combination attack. So, Flutter main does protect itself. It will survive the turn, but that means next turn it's got to take even more damage from the Flame Orb being active on the Ursaluna. Guts will increase its damage by even more. So, yeah, Glacial Lance doing a little bit less than half the Gouging Fire, but Earthquake should pick up the remaining bit. And even if it doesn't, like, I think that's better for Mason. I don't think you're complaining one bit about that. Earthquake does come out. It's super effective on Gouging Fire. Will be enough to pick up a KO. Yes, of course. The Gouging Fire does go down. And now what do? It doesn't even look like Umbreon was here, right? Like, there's no Umbreon. And if there's no Umbreon, I don't really... What are you going to do? Like, that was your really only defensive Pokemon on the team. Raging Bolt is not going to be able to take this Earthquake. Potentially, you could go for Thunderclap. The Terra Flying on Calyrex does mean that it's no longer protected by the Psychic terrain. But so what? I don't even expect a Thunderclap to knock out the Calyrex. And even if Mason thinks that, you can just protect and go for Earthquake. Looks like Thunderclap does come out into the Calyrex. Yeah, not enough. A critical hit would have been needed. Glacial Lance is going to pick up a knockout onto the Raging Bolt and do heavy damage into... Oh, actually, it didn't pick up the Raging Bolt. But again, it doesn't matter when you've got a follow-up Earthquake. These spread moves are just way too devastating for Mason. That committal of Terra Fairy turn 1, I think, and Raging Bolt in the back just is not enough. You're not going to be able to weather this Trick Room, and Flutter main and Raging Bolt will both go down. Now Koraidon, like, I don't think, even if you manage to get through all these like, imagine this was the last turn of Trick Room. You could, like, you still have to do, like, an attack into Calyrex, and then Ursaluna can follow up with a Facade. That's probably enough with the chip that you've already taken from Flare Blitz. Even if it wasn't enough, then you'd have a whole other Pokemon to deal with in the back. And you only have single target attacks. You can only KO one Pokemon at a time. And that's just not good enough. Especially with 2 turns of Trick Room remaining, I don't see any way out for Darren here. Protect will not save you. Even if you, again, get through this with Double Protect, you'll also run out of Sun as well. So that will also decrease your damage. Even if you have, like, the best case scenario of, like, what, Amoonguss in the back, you're still going to have to use Flare Blitz to knock that out, and that's going to deal even more Ray Coil to yourself. If it's Pelipper in the back, you definitely can't win. If it's Iron Valiant in the back, then Spirit Break will just pick up a KO and it'll outspeed you. There's just no way out, I think, here for Darren. It does land Double Protect, so we will escape Trick Room. The Koraidon will have the opportunity to pick up 1 KO, but I believe 1 KO is the only KO it's going to get unless Mason, like, protects something. And even then, I think there's still no way out. This Facade, like I say, it should do enough by itself. I would be shocked if Koraidon could survive that such a strong attack. Flare Blitz is probably required to pick up the Calyrex, especially with Sun gone. I don't think Flame Charge is going to do it. especially without terrestrialization. Collision Course will pick up the Ursaluna, so you will improve your score. That will pick up a KO because it is super effective. Collision Course will get that extra damage, so even without the Sun, the Collision Course still does heavy damage into the Ursaluna. And we will see Glacial Lance, though, finish up this Koraidon. That's going to knock it out for sure. Single target, Koraidon stood no chance. So, a very quick finals, 2-0 for Mason, but yeah, that Trick Room, once it went up in Game 2, we saw its impact. And yeah, really punishing. So yeah, that was finals here of the League Challenge at St. Peter's, Missouri. Congratulations to Mason, who walks away with a League Challenge victory. I wonder how many times I said Premier Challenge in this broadcast. But in any case, congratulations to Mason. Also, congratulations to Darren, who will come away with championship points for a second place finish. So, all in all, a good tournament overall. Hope you enjoyed watching. Until next time, have a good one.